Hey everybody, welcome to Aniki, the podcast about anime with two brothers. I'm Ben.
And I'm Garbled Static.
So, what did you get up to over Thanksgiving break?
What did I get up to? Let's see here. We had a flat tire. We watched Anastasia and Titan AE and Muppet Christmas Carol.
That's an interesting choice of films.
Is it? It's
As
two
a
Don
group?
Bluth. It's two Don Bluth films and then Muppet Christmas Carol because it's Christmas. So I mean, really, it makes sense because it's like Don Bluth 1, Don Bluth 2, and then it's Christmas.
I guess. It hasn't really felt like Christmas. I know that technically it's after Thanksgiving, and so it's
Can you
Christmas.
tell it's Christmas at all? Can you tell it's Christmas at all, Ben?
I can't. You want to know why?
All sorts of reasons,
Because
I'm sure.
it's really warm outside. It's like, it was 60 yesterday. It does not feel like Christmas yet.
Well, it is chilly and cold here, so...
It's supposed to be cold next week, but not this week. But how did you like your Titan AE? Was it as great as you remember it?
Well, I mean, it's not like great, but I mean, it's fine.
So, I got to go down to the in-laws. And while I was there, our sister-in-law, well, my sister-in-law, her sister, made us watch two shows. One was and one was garbage.
What was and what was garbage?
Well, the ant one was ReZero, which apparently everybody knows
ReZero.
about.
Which one? I know that name.
So you remember me
That's
talking
not,
about...
that's not Al Noah Zero, right?
It's not El Noah Zero. No, that's something else. This is ReZero. You may know it from such things as the internet waifu war of last year.
Well, I don't know. Doubt it. It's possible. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I know of this show, but I
Yes.
don't really care about it.
I
at
didn't
all.
either. But we did watch 4 episodes because it was late.
Well, what I like about this is I see this little pull screen here from episode 25, and I'm pretty sure that's just the girl from Toradora. So I think I know what it's like, and I don't care.
I'm pretty sure that screen cap you see there for episode 25, that's a boy.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, then I super don't care.
I don't think about it too hard.
My caring has gone from low to
Very low.
non-existent.
So you remember me talking about Konosuba and how I didn't realize that it was like a riff, or seems to be a riff, on the trope of boy dies, goes to another world, becomes hero, etc., etc., etc.
I mean, that's pretty popular right now.
Yes, apparently this one was one of the first ones to do that.
See, the problem with watching one of the first ones to do blank after a whole bunch of other shows have done blank is it seems highly derivative and irritating.
That is true. But I will give it some credit. Of the 4 episodes I saw,
Yeah.
its setup is somewhat interesting. So the guy doesn't just die, he's like pulled into this other world, right? And then he
Wait. What you're describing is basically just Never-Ending Story, right?
It actually is
Never-Ending
very
Story?
much like Never-Ending Story. So things it does well. He has this thing where if he dies, like he resets to what is essentially like a save point.
Okay, well, that's kind of cute.
It's kinda cute.
There's some things you can do about that.
But it turns out in episode 4 that it's unpredictable and you don't know how exactly it works. So it can't really be gamed yet, as far as I can tell.
Well,
So
that kind of
actually
ruins the gimmick, right?
I actually think
in some
that's
ways.
a better way of doing it, because the other way seems like, well, obviously what you do is you just keep doing it till you get it right.
I mean, that is true.
But if you throw unpredictability into it, now it's like, oh, there's actually maybe drama here. Whereas before it was just, oh, this didn't work. I guess we'll just Higurashi this and start over.
You'll have 0 consequences versus your consequences will be random.
Yes.
I mean, that's fair.
The other thing is the main girl, she seems more like the girl from
Mirai Nikki, please yes.
no, not Mirai Nikki. The
Oh.
the original Monogatari.
Oh, Shinjo Gohara. I like Shinjo
Yes.
Gohara.
She's a lot like that in that the main character, the protag, flirts with her a lot. And she's like, she realizes that's going on and she's like, whatever, I don't care.
Oh, but the great thing about Shinjo Gohara is she realizes, don't care, but she also flirts back in like the coldest like way, and it's great.
Well, in the 4 episodes I saw, she hasn't done that yet, but the potential's there.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that's kind of nice then. Because, I mean, the original first season of Monogatari
is
is
great.
so good.
Yes.
Like, unfathomably good. And then it kind of just degenerates into, like, oh, this is an ecchi show. We're just going to be ecchi. And
That's what they do.
by the time you get to, like, halfway through season 2, you're like, oh, this is just being gratuitous. And all the directorial freshness from the first season is kind of played out. And you're like, this feels more like somebody copying how great the first season was directed. And
Yeah, then it turned into
lame.
just dialogue forever.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, but like, the original run is so good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the ReZero show has a protag that is inconsistent and boring, and I don't really care about him at all.
Well, because he's just a vehicle to be self-inserted with all these girls.
Pretty much. Like, he goes from being, oh, I don't want to do anything, to I'm going to be superhero time in like 5 seconds.
I mean, to be fair, that is basically One Punch Man's
yes, but
character arc.
He does this like over and over and over, and he flips back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whatever.
And what was the thing that was good?
You mean bad?
Was it? Oh, what was the bad?
That was the meh thing.
I thought there was. Oh, it was meh and bad. Sorry, I thought it was like. I thought it was meh and pretty all right.
Okay, so I'm going to issue a caveat here. I didn't actually watch the episode of this show.
Okay.
I bring that up because my wife was watching the episode of the show.
All right.
While I was loading up the car to leave. But they were watching it dubbed so I could hear it.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry.
First of all, I saw it and didn't know what it was.
Okay.
And I thought, well, this looks a lot like someone just took a visual novel and decided we'll just do the cutscenes and hooray, we have a show now.
That's like 12 shows that are currently airing, so I mean, I don't find that.
So I just thought that's what this is. And the dialogue is horrible. The voice acting isn't great, but they also had nothing to work with.
I mean, what's even dubbed these days? So, I mean, that's already throwing me for a loop, because like nothing's dubbed anymore.
Right, so they spent money on dubbing it. Of the dialogue I heard, I gathered that...
Did you hear a Kya Panties?
No.
Oh, yeah, well.
What I gathered was there were kids, so high schoolers.
Okay. Sure.
They used to live in the sea. Now they live on land.
Okay.
That was the plot that I got. But as I was taking stuff out to the car, the first time I heard something along the lines of, "Oh my God, Akari, you can't go out with that boy because he still lives in the sea and it's just terrible and he doesn't care about you." And Fine. So I go out to the car and I'm like, I don't really want to go back inside right now. So I spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes outside, taking pictures of sunset and farmland, and it was nice and tranquil. And
Sure. And you come back in and
I go back inside and it's like
dialogue.
And Akari, you can't go out with him because he doesn't intend on marrying you. And like, how are you still on this?
Wait, is this My Girlfriend's a Mermaid?
No, I would actually like My Girlfriend's a Mermaid because it would have a mermaid in it.
So what is this?
This show is called Nagi no Asukara, and I looked it up, and apparently it has a score on my anime list of 8.26 and is ranked number 260.
Maybe it's just a really bad dub. Long ago, all humans lived beneath the sea. However, some people prefer the surface and been living underwater permanently. As a consequence, they were stripped of their God-given protection called Enna, which allowed them to breathe underwater. Over time, the rift between the densities of the sea and surface widened, though the contact between the two people still existed. Nagi no Asukara follows the story of Protag and other Protag, along with childhood friends Protag and Protag, who are forced to leave the sea and attend a school on the surface. Well, that's kind of silly.
Yeah, that's it.
They meet other Protag, a fellow student and a fisherman who loves the sea. I can understand that, being Aaron Yachtsman, werewolf at large. Hikari and his friends lives are bound to change when they have to deal with the deep-seated hatred and discrimination between people of the sea and people of the surface. So in personal life, I don't know. It just kind of sounds bad with not super great art. What's this based on? Is it based on something? In IS America, okay. PA Works, they do some things that are pretty
It is an adaptation of a manga.
A manga.
Not a visual novel, but it looks just like a visual novel that was just put on the air.
Well, it can't be. I mean, that's a score by like 100,000 users. So
I know, right?
There must be something there, right?
I would hope so, but... And so I thought, maybe I'm just biased. Maybe there's something wrong with me. So as we were driving home, I asked my wife, "What'd you think of that show that you were watching before we left?" And she's like, "It's garbage. I hate it."
Maybe this is a dub problem. Maybe it's a dub problem.
See, I thought so, but just listening to the words they were saying was like, no, they literally have nothing to work with. It's just bad.
Well, let's see. When did it come out? When did it come? Fall 2013. Well, that's a different time, right? Maybe
we
it's
were all
just because
younger then.
Maybe this was some fresh hot take that hadn't been freshly taken yet.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a different time. Okay. Well, here's another thing to think about. What was concurrently airing? Because it's possible that it could have come out during a season where everything was shit.
Well, let's find out.
Like, by comparison.
Okay, I just clicked on fall 2013. Things that came out. Kill la Kill, Log Horizon.
Okay, yeah, no, never mind.
Those are the first two.
In which case, like, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
Why did you bother to watch that?
No, Midori.
Okay, so maybe this is like a weird confirmation bias where you're like, oh, so you don't like good things, so you were watching this show. And so since you hated good things, you're like, oh, this must be good. Oh, yeah, Golden Time, which is also supposed to be pretty good.
Yes, there are a lot of good shows here.
Okay, that's got to be it then, right? It's got to be like, oh, I hate happiness and good shows, so I watched this show, and I was like, oh, well, this show isn't anything like good things, so this must be good.
Yeah, I could see that. That would make sense.
How do you watch Kill la Kill and Log Horizon? Granted, maybe if you just watched the first 6 episodes of Kill la Kill, you're like, well, that show's garbage, and you moved on to something else.
Or Log Horizon and thought, well, this is boring.
Yeah, but Log Horizon's really good.
Yeah, but you actually have to like pay attention to it.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Like, it also came out in the same season as another basketball show. So, I mean, you would think that at least that type of person would have gone on to watch the basketball show.
Maybe.
And Non Biori is so good. And that's the first run of Non Biori, isn't it?
Yep.
Man. Okay, so what? Well, that blows that theory out of the water. Because like,
I
Non
honestly don't
Biori
know.
is great. Have you watched that yet?
I have not.
Is that one you turned me on to? Is that one that I was like, hey, Ben, you should watch Non Biori? Because it's like
one you told me to watch.
Awesome. It's super cute and awesome and should be watched. Oh, and it was the same season as Yowamushi Pedal, so there's another like hot boys doing a sport.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, this is confusing me then. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know either. But
I am blown away.
My wife said the only reason she watched it was because her sister recommended it to her. And when she told her sister, not really my thing, she got mad.
Okay.
This is not the first time this has happened. So I have a PSA for recommendations. When you make recommendations, it is you've seen the thing and you know a person and you're like, I know that person and I've seen this thing and I believe this thing would make them happy.
Yeah, generally.
Therefore, I should recommend it. A recommendation is not, I've seen this thing and I like it and I want to talk to someone about it. So you should watch it too. And if you don't watch it, I'm going to get mad.
Okay, well, that's a little silly. But I will say that sometimes, okay, so I work with teenagers, right?
Sure.
And I have to make sure that they grow up #right. So I pretty much have to be like, hey, why are you watching Naruto? Watch JoJo instead. And he's like, but I don't want to. And I have to be like, watch JoJo. And guess what? Now they're watching JoJo and they're like, why did I ever waste my time with Naruto? It's like, yes, no, I know. This is why you listen to your senpai and you watch good anime.
Yeah, but I don't think you were doing that for yourself. You were still doing it for their benefit.
I'm doing it for the good of mankind as a whole.
Fair enough.
Obviously.
But the second kind of recommendation, the one where you demand of somebody to watch a thing so you have someone to talk to about it.
Yeah.
You're recommending it for yourself.
I mean,
not for them, really.
Sort of, maybe.
So,
I don't know.
So
it's something to mull over, at least.
Yeah, when you give recommendations, do it for other people.
Yeah, at least think to yourself when you give a recommendation, why am I going to recommend this, right? Is it because I enjoy it and I just want to like talk about it with somebody else? Or is it because I enjoy it and I think it's so good that I think everybody needs to experience this piece of media?
Yes.
So, but that is very confusing. Like, why?
The more you know.
Like, it is technically higher rated than both Kill la Kill and Log Horizon. So.
That's even more confusing.
Well, it's because it has a smaller sample size, and the people who watched it really liked it. So, there's your thing.
Yeah, the sample size for Kill la Kill is over 500,000.
Like,
and so is Log Horizon.
both of those are like 500,000, and this show's like 250,000, a third of a million. So I mean, but that means the people who liked it really liked it. So I bet
I dropped it and scored it a 2 after watching one episode, quote unquote.
Well, I mean, that's a little mean, but also I'm very confused. Like when you look at this season of like, when you look at this like what came out in fall 2013, you're like, oh, and if you were brand new to anime and you're like, well, there's an 8.2 and an 8.11. Oh, look at this 8.26. Maybe I should watch that because it's better than everything else on this list other than Baseball Show, and I don't want to watch that. That's the second season anyway. And Magi's technically another season, so let me give a shot on this. And you're like, wow, that sucked. I guess I really shouldn't watch Kill la Kill. See, now that would just be disappointing for all of humanity for such a thing to happen.
Indeed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have answers. No answers. Does PA Works make anything good? Let's look.
I have no idea.
PA Works. Same people who made this. Oh, they made another, and they made Shirobako.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know PA Works. Like, they're not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Hanosaku Iroha. That's a good show. I like that show a lot.
Oh, which one is that?
That's the one she goes to work at like her grandma's bathhouse.
Oh yeah,
it's very good. Very sweet. Very sweet show.
Yeah, they've made several good shows. Although it doesn't seem to have been consistent.
I mean, that's the way it is with who is it? The people who did Ayori Aoshi. They did Ayori Aoshi. What else did they do? I love that show.
I know you do, even though it's not a yandere.
Yes, but
or a hime cut.
She is a hime.
Oh.
She's got a very minor hime cut, but she is a hime archetype. So, but JC staff is very hit or miss.
Yes, they are.
Now, Aoi is at least a hime. She doesn't always have the hime cut. But she is a hime. Though I guess she's not like the haughty hime archetype. So there's some wiggle room.
Yeah, JC staff is all over the map, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all over the place, aren't they? Yeah, no, I know, right? They're real hit or miss.
It's like Toradora,
which I don't particularly like. I understand the appeal.
They also made Railgun and
yeah, see, I know, right?
And
Golden Time, which is supposed to be
Flying
good.
Witch and Azumanga Daioh, and also Ikitosen.
Yeah, see, they're really crazy. They're a good studio, but they just do all sorts of. Oh, they've been tapped to do One Punch Man 2.
Oh, good.
So I mean, they're just they're just all over the place.
They'll make anything.
They do Bakuman, right? That's supposed to be good.
Do they?
Isn't it?
Yep, they do that.
Oh, and they did Nodame no Cantabile, which is astounding and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just kind of all over. They're very prolific. I think that's probably what it really comes down to.
And they did...
really? They did Utena.
Cat Soup.
They did Utena.
And Slayers. And Utena. And ROD.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, they've been around a while. Yeah, they're just very prolific. So, I mean, they're just kind of all over the map. They must be big. Must be a big studio.
They are one of the biggest studios over there. So,
yeah. They did Karin and Kari-san no Yujin-kun.
Yes, they are responsible for wreaking that upon the world.
I love Karin. Unironically, would recommend. If you want the state of anime 2005, please go watch Karin. You will not be disappointed. Or maybe you will. Hey, who did Midori no Hibi anyway?
That's a good question. Let's find out.
Midori. See, I think almost like maybe we should just not get to the episode this time because we've had such a fascinating discussion.
The same people who brought you Naruto and Tokyo Ghoul and Bleach.
Really? Oh yeah, Studio Paro. You're right. But Midori no Hibi is actually pretty okay.
Well, it's pretty bonkers, at least.
Yeah, the premise is bananas, but the show itself is actually pretty cute.
And Hikaru no Go. What in the world?
Hikaru no Go's good.
Well,
I will stand up for Hikaru no Go.
I will stand up for Hikaru no Go up until like the last 16 episodes, which I still haven't watched.
That's because last 16 episodes, you're like, oh, come on, get over it. Sai left. Ugh.
Got a mope for half a season.
Yeah, like realize why he left, you idiot.
You got good.
Yeah, you got good, scrub. You figured out how to beat him. Spoilers, but it's a sports anime. You know how this works. Come on. Also, it's 1 billion years old. Also, the character designer and writer of the original manga was Takashi Obata, who was the character designer and artist for...
I forgot already. I know you've told me.
Death Note.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a great artist.
Oh, I did have one other piece of news.
Okay.
We found out over Thanksgiving break that Made in Abyss is getting a second season. Hooray!
Well, that's good for you.
It is good for me.
I've watched like no anime. I'm still knee deep in Kamen Rider Double.
Oh man,
which is super good, by the way.
Yeah, so
Solid.
they haven't set a release date, but I'm guessing either summer or fall of next year.
Well, that'd be nice. I've never watched. Was the second season of Titan any good?
I haven't watched it yet. I should.
Well, I like just ratings wise.
I've heard it was good, but I haven't seen it.
8.51, same as the original, but it only had half as many viewers. But that's because anime churns. Anime fandoms are kind of miserable in that they will churn extraordinarily fast.
Yep.
For no good reason. So
you want to get to robots?
Yeah, I suppose we should. But yes, because I would really like to get back to my wolf mom and talk about being a werewolf. So,
not gonna ask.
Well, I mean, I was saved by Wolf Mom, and now I have to go in her Wolf Mom minivan to go talk about what werewolves are supposed to do. How does a sailor know how to werewolf, Ben? I ask you.
I don't have answers.
Neither do I. That's why I need to talk to Wolf Mom. Obviously.
Oh dear. Yeah, so this week we're continuing going through Eve no Jikan. This week we're doing episode 4. I think it's entitled Bucket of Bolts. I'm not sure.
It could be. I think it's Bender.
Bender? That would make sense.
It's called Nameless, and it has another name, because each episode seems to have a name in English, as in written in English in the show itself, and then also a Japanese name, which is different from the English name.
Yeah, it's usually like Lovers of Eve or Child of Eve, or this week I think it's Doll of Eve or something.
Did you see Annie's Alexa video?
I did, like right before this.
I have no idea. I'm very confused.
Would you like to describe what exactly happened?
Well, okay, so in chat in my role-playing game, somebody said, like, referring to somebody else entirely. They said, Alexa, such and such and such, referring to another Alexa entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to respond in a smarmy way, saying what, Alexa says when she can't answer something. So we were like, let's come up with a nonsensical question to ask Alexa. So Annie said how many carrots were in a kumquat, and we got the standard, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, what's another nonsensical question? I was like, oh, let's ask her, how many green in 5? So we ask Alexa, how much green is in 5?
And
she gave an answer. A baffling answer.
What was the answer?
She said 20 hours and 45 minutes. Obviously.
Well, now we know.
Now, I know ask a stupid question, but also, like, she had to have heard something that made sense to her.
Maybe.
So I'm more curious. See, this is like Hitchhiker's Guide, right?
Oh yeah.
I got an answer,
so
but I'm more curious of what the heck the question was. I know what I asked, actually.
Do you want me to spoil it a little bit?
Is it like some sort of Greenwich Mean Time nonsense?
Well, you've got a phone, right, that you've hooked up to Amazon so you can control the Echo?
Yeah.
It should have a log of all the questions that were asked.
Oh, maybe you're right. Let me ask Annie.
Yeah, go do that.
Now, what if she says that that's what she heard?
Well, that will raise even more questions.
That raises so many questions. Like, what is she answering? She obviously heard something that she thought was answerable. So what was it?
Well, it turns out that you asked this question, and that triggered something inside of Alexa's mind.
Yeah, the question is, if we ask again, will the number be different?
I don't know. Maybe you should try. So it's going to turn out that question was like natural oil to a Tachikoma. And now you've put sentience into Alexa.
Maybe we did. Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about this episode so we can get on.
So in the future, maybe Japan again, robots are having practical uses, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Blah 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 blah.
But this time we don't start with the two boys. We start with a robot.
A robot.
Yep. And we get to see the world through his eyes, which is basically a children's room. And I want to take a minute and talk about what we're seeing, because it's a little interesting. We get this heads-up display that shows his temperature, I guess, how much fuel he's got left, and some other like just techie looking things. But the interesting thing is up here in the top right, there's like these 3 gauges that are always tracking the 3 laws of robotics.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of. Oh, they kind of are. Oh, that's kind of cute.
I don't know what they signify, because I didn't know that you could quantify those things.
Well, maybe you can. Like how, like if you say the parameters, right? It can be like, oh, this is mostly this and mostly that, and it gives it some sort of like wiggle room within those laws.
I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that not only could you quantify it, but you could measure it and gauge it against something else.
Well, I mean, I guess you could. If it's programmed behavior, then it must have defined things. Like you can't just tell a robot don't hurt yourself, because it's like, well, that doesn't, what quantifies as hurt yourself, right?
That's a good question.
So I mean, it has to be programmed in there. So.
But the robot's holding up a little picture that looks much like a robot with a great big square head and a smiley face.
Yeah, it looks like a big friendly bender.
He asks in a very robotic voice, "Who is this? Like, what's this a drawing of?" And he looks down at the little boy who says, "You don't recognize yourself?"
Well, little boy.
And the boy has no face.
He's got a great big black box around him. He's basically been, what I should have done is pretend to be one of those deaf mutes did.
I know that we've had some issue with your version and my version looking different. Do you actually see a black box around the kid?
No.
Or is he
it's
scrambled?
Scramble.
Okay, good.
It's a scramble. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, it scrambles, and the little icon appears saying no data over the kid's face.
Yeah.
But he can see the rest of the room. Like, everything else is fine. It's just that kid's face. And apparently he can't recognize himself either. But we'll also note that this particular scene, like, zooms out a little bit. Like, it gets smaller, and it turns out that this is like a picture-in-picture for the robot. And he's actually walking around in the alleys.
Yep. With it shows a little map of him going to basically Time of Eve.
Yep.
Or being guided there by whatever weird circuitry guides these guys to there.
Is the bartender God? Is this Quantum Leap?
It could be Quantum Leap.
For robots. So we cut away from that and we get our title card real quick. So we cut away from that and we go back to Rikuo's apartment, and we get a shot of a little sign saying that Dad's not going to be home.
Life's hard.
Life is hard.
And the sisters, they're on the couch again. I do like how the show is very formulaic. Like, everybody has their own spot, right? Like, sister is on couch. Boy is at table.
Yes.
I like that. I like how it gives you a good pattern to just sort of follow. I like it when shows do that.
I guess
especially
he's
shorter
always
ones.
at a table, isn't he? He's either at that table, or he's at his desk, or he's at the cafe table.
Yeah.
Unless he's stalking women in the bathroom.
Well, now hold on. Let's not be rushed to judge. Their father is out because there have been lots of complaints. Because whenever a new model of AI robots come out, there's always a ton of complaints because they never work right. We all know this.
Yes. So apparently he either works for the ethics committee or the people that build the robots. I don't know if they're even the same entity or not.
I do not believe so. That's not the lore I would assume, given what we have seen.
True, but you never know.
Because basically, the point of this whole scene is basically Rikuo is like, hey, old robots used to glitch out a bunch, and this is going to matter when old robot shows up.
Yep.
So really, this is a whole bunch of filler to just say old robots used to glitch.
He does do an interesting thing where he's like, the old robots didn't have fuzzy logic, and then he demonstrates what fuzzy logic is. Whereas he just asked his robot, Sammy, I would like something to drink. And then she works out what he would want given what meal it is and where they are, etc.
Yeah. Where old ones would be like, drink? What?
I am now drinking water, is what they would say. Sister is annoyed that all the complaints were in the past, so why bother?
And there's a brief mention of is this where we get the brief mention of something on TV that the reclamation fees are going up?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's important too.
Yes, apparently when you trade in your new robot or your old robot for a new robot, you have to pay a fee for them to reclaim the old one.
Yeah, like electronics recycling, but there's a fee on it. So this has led to a slight uptick in people abandoning old robots, which really seems like a very bad idea.
Well, it's also illegal, apparently, because they really want that reclamation fee.
For good reason. They want that reclamation fee, and also having a bunch of pseudo AIs all running around.
Mm-hmm. So we cut from that back to classroom. I found one thing interesting here. Not really the conversation at all, because it's mostly just Misaki and some girl we've never seen before talking about new versions of robots.
Yeah.
There's actually a robot student.
Yeah, I saw that, and the teacher's a robot, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, we knew he was a robot.
When I first saw that robot student, I was like, now that's super weird. But then I got to thinking, hey, wait a minute, no, because if you wanted to skip or had a sick day, what would you do?
Send in a proxy.
Send the robot. Yeah. Send the robot in to take your notes.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, that actually makes a whole lot of sense when you sit down and think about it, because you can have the robot take all your notes and whatnot, and then come home and you're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Also, I do like how these classrooms are empty, and that probably has that's probably some social commentary about low birth rates in Japan.
But the girl is noticing that there's another couple of kids that are talking about robots and such, and she turns to Misaki, he's like, man, what a bunch of losers, right? Right?
Nerds.
And then she realizes that he's paying like really close attention to what they're talking about. And he's like, I'm totally not interested in robots. Because why would I be interested in robots? That's weird.
Because my dad totally works for the ethics committee. We are like 98% sure.
And then he tells her that he has a place to go later, which is
the robot cafe. To talk to robots.
Robots. Gotta go drink robot coffee. BRB.
Gotta go drink that robot coffee. Either way, nobody's at Robot Cafe today, so they're stuck talking to the bartender / barista. I don't know what she is.
/ God, maybe. If it's Quantum Leap.
Maybe. Oh, no, that's possible, yeah.
So they try to ask her, since they have literally nothing else to do, why do you even work here?
What I like is she deflects that question by saying, like, oh, well, some days it's bored, and, none of my favorite customers are here today. And the boys just look so upset. And it is a choice reaction, because they're like, but us. Maybe it's because you guys keep breaking the freaking one rule.
Seriously. There is just one rule.
There's one rule, and they can't be arsed to keep that straight.
Just treat everybody the same. No distinction between humans and robots. It's not that hard, except when an actual robot walks in.
An actual Bender-style robot walks in the door. I'm sad on days like this when I don't get to see any of my favorite customers. And Rikuo just puts his head on the table and is like, "Can I get a refill, please?" No. When she goes to go get the beans for the refill of coffee, in walks the door.
Yes, in walks through the door the most robot that ever robot.
I love the musical cues for this guy, because it's like the music knows this guy's like ridiculous, because it starts with no music cues and just this giant like clanky robot roboting in the door like a freaking robot, and you get like Terminator soundtrack.
It's very orchestral, whereas everything else is very minimalistic. And we get to see his heads-up display, and from his point of view again. And he's analyzing everything bit by bit. He's got to go through every line of text on the sandwich board. He's got to recognize everybody in the room one by one.
All to this like really, really like grim, dark like score. And then it finally decides, I'm going to go over there and sit with those fine young men. And the music just cuts out and it's perfectly normal as this clanky ass robot comes meandering up to the table. It's very good.
And he is in a bad way.
He's in a super bad way. He's got like pipes that aren't going where they're supposed to.
He's got cracks all over him.
He's got the shakes.
He's got the shakes real bad. And the two boys are trying to ignore him because he's just standing over them like, I should get a seat. And then not only does he take a seat, but he grabs a chair from another table and plops down between them. The both of them. He's like, he could have got around, but he didn't.
Yep. No, and it is nameless Eve's doll.
Yeah.
These poor boys. They just end up sitting across from him. And they're just going to they're trying very hard Rikuo is trying very hard to be like, okay, we have to treat him normal. Hello, fine customer. We too are customers.
And he's like, oh, I as well am a customer. Nice to see you.
And Misaki introduces him and Ritsuko. And he's like, what is your name? And he's like, why? Rikuo is like, why are you doing this? Why did you engage? And he's like, well, being smarmy as Misaki often is, he's like, well, humans often introduce themselves, so this is perfectly normal.
Right.
And I am strapped in, ready for this wild ride. So the robot's like, I should introduce myself using my name.
In that case, my name
like a
is...
human does.
And this horrifying screech comes out of him.
Because he analyzes his data and realizes it's like, oh, this must be my name because this little black box of a boy said my name, which is all censored out, and my name is
Yeah. It's all garbled. It makes no sense.
It's choice.
And he keeps trying to say his name, and they're like, no, please stop. It hurts so much.
But he's like, but I am a human being person who must say his name, which is...
that thing. That horrible sound. And they're like, no, it's fine. You don't have to force yourself to tell us your name. It's cool. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm just telling you my name.
This poor robot.
And then Misaki's like, okay, look, you don't have to introduce yourself. It's fine. We're cool. And he's like, why is that? Because just a second ago you said, and he plays back Misaki saying humans usually introduce themselves.
So, and I am usually a human, so I've got to usually introduce myself.
And they're like, the two boys take a huddle, and they're like, okay, just let's pretend that's his name so we don't have to listen to it anymore.
Yeah. They're like, okay, yes, that is a good name.
Please, tell us your name once more. So he does, and some smoke comes out.
Yeah, he kind of piffs. He's having a rough time of it, this poor robot boy of ours. He's like, yes, this is a good name. It means a lot to me.
It's so precious. It's in my kokoro.
Yeah, and then they look up and his head is at like a 90-degree broken angle.
That's not normal.
They can't help but react.
And he tries very hard to like move his head back to where it's going, and
but it can't, so he's just like, where's the restroom so I can go freshen up from my seeming problem?
And just him walking back to the restroom with his head at a 90-degree angle is the silliest thing.
It's pretty good.
Mr. Robot, whose name I don't know,
is Kerchunk, wanders off to the restroom, and the two boys have had about enough and do have to have a giggle because it's too hard.
It's pretty ridiculous. And Nagi comes back out and sees this and is just aghast.
It's like, now come on. Well, he's not too bad. She's just like, now come on. You gotta treat everybody the same. And the boys are like, now come on yourself. Did you see that guy? He's the most robot to ever robot.
Well, she's got to bring everybody down because she's like, that robot's been abandoned. No one wants him. He's all alone. Like, yeah, but his head is also 90 degrees to the right, so...
He stalks back while Nagi is complaining at the boys. And to her credit, she is just like, oh, hello, a customer. What would you like? She's very good at her job. She deserves a raise.
So she asks him, what would you like to order? Which is a fuzzy logic question. And he starts, like, super freaking out.
Because he's like, oh, no.
I don't know what this means.
What would I like to drink? I don't know.
So Rikuo tries to help him out and, like, takes a sip of his coffee that he just got and is like, oh, this is too hot. Can I have another? And puts the cup out in front of the robot so he can see it. And the robot is like, I want that.
I want what he's having. He's like, nice save. But Misaki points out that, of course, his coffee is okay because this guy's mouth is literally just a speaker and he might pour the coffee right down his speaker. And given this guy's poor shape, he will blow up in an instant.
Yep, this is
and they're like,
bad.
Oh, no.
And thus begins the drama of this particular episode.
Yes, which is these two poor boys trying very hard to make sure this robot doesn't blow himself up to bits. They're like, well, the robot can't kill himself because that would violate the third rule, but also, like, if he doesn't drink it, then he's not being a human, and that would discriminate.
Yep.
And oh no,
and then he would break all the things, and
he would also explode. So this is bad.
He's gonna blow up one way or another here in a second.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to work very hard to keep this poor robot boy from blowing up.
So they're like hiding behind their chairs because they are pretty sure that as soon as this robot has any coffee at all, they're all going to be goners. And Nagi's like, she brings out the coffee. And Rikuo's like, no, what are you doing? He's gonna, just shouldn't. And she's like, what do you mean? He's a customer. He wanted coffee, so he's gonna get coffee.
And you get this very ominous music as the poor robot starts raising the coffee to his lips to drink. And Risco is like, no, please don't drink the coffee. He's like, yes, but the waitress just said it was brought here to me to drink. So I'm going to do it.
That is a thing.
Like a real person does.
So Rikuo thinks to himself, okay, I got this. Check this out. Don't drink that. It's an order. Gotcha. And then the robot's like, why? Wait,
That's
what?
Dumb. We're not discriminating between robots here, so I have semi-free will, so deal with that. And he's like, okay, well then I'll ask you a question. How old are you?
And he's like, well, this year I'm going to be 8. And at this point, he starts doing some comparisons. And he looks at Misaki and is like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure that an average 8-year-old would not be the size I am.
Also, the robot noticed the expression on Misaki's face when he said he was 8 and was like, well, wait, you didn't believe me. Uh-oh. Time to have another logical meltdown.
Well, and then Rikuo was like, well, maybe he means that's the year he was manufactured. And the robot's like, wait, do you think I'm too big for an 8-year-old human? Do you not?
It's like, uh-oh, that would break the rules.
Uh-oh.
Abort. These poor boys are trying so hard to not have this robot accidentally murder itself.
And the more they talk, the more it's going to explode.
Yeah. So Rikuo has a great save and is like, well, there are lots of different 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And the robot wants clarification. So you mean there are 8-year-old humans that are the size of me? And he's like, well,
yes.
Sure. It's like, well, that's not in my data, so please tell me more. And they're like, well, there's someone who comes here a lot. And they're 8 years old, and they're big.
Yeah, super big. Like, as big or bigger than you. So everything's great. And their name is Chi-chan. Everything's fine. And I should point out that the camera work here is amazing because
it's super good.
There's a camera in the middle of the table, and it keeps swinging between them.
Just wildly between them. The robot.
It's very desperate camera work, and I like it.
And in circles, too, which I like. It's not just like a back, forth. It's circling around, making you dizzy.
Yes, and as soon as the situation calms down, like the camera stabilizes and stops being tilty and wobbly all over the place. And they're like, oh, okay. The Chi-chan thing, that worked. We're good. And they look back up, and the cup's almost to his mouth again. And they're like, okay, what was your job? Tell us all more about what you did as a human being who is 8 years old.
Yeah, you 8-year-old human. What is it you were doing? It's like, I helped in childcare.
Obviously. Now, Misaki...
Yeah, has another flashback, and I bet your flashback's different than mine.
Is yours of a Roomba?
No.
Because mine is of a crying boy. Oh, wow. Yours is totally different. Again.
Mine at least makes pseudo sense because it's Misaki in a doorway in an empty room, and you see a silhouette of like a very robot-y robot.
So, yeah.
Through the door.
You're seeing a kid looking through a door, and there's a squat, fatty robot thing in silhouette on the other side. Whereas I'm seeing, like, we're in a room with boxes of stuff that are all packed away. There's a dad looking at a kid, but this time he's not sitting on a bed. He's on the floor on his knees, weeping a lot. And there's a robot looking sad. So I suspect that a robot is being taken away.
It's either being taken away or he doesn't want to be left with the robot who takes care of him.
That would make sense. But as they're contemplating this, and Misaki's having a moment, it becomes too late, and the cup reaches the robot's mouth. And the music here is great, and so is the camera work, because it's zooming in, and there's big orchestra hits, like, oh no, what's going on?
They turn ready to flee and duck as the robot explodes, and then the robot grabs his radiator tube and just soaks up all of it.
Like in 2 seconds.
It's like, I did it. I drank the coffee. I successfully navigated this problem.
Hooray!
And the boys are just like, thank goodness.
Well, it turns out that he was better at this conversation than the two humans.
Yep.
And the boys are relieved, and then suddenly, from behind them, down the stairs, come Chi-chan and Grandpa. Turns out that they were both upstairs taking an afternoon nap.
There you go. Of course, that means that the robot sees Chi-chan. And, well, that's not going to be good for this poor robot.
She walks over here and is like, hey, something weird going on here. And Grandpa's like, now don't say things like that because it goes against the rules. So come on, Chi-chan, let's go back upstairs.
And they're like, oh no, Chi means this person is under 8.
Robot's like, this is Chi-chan, who's 8 years old. She's little bitty.
And they're like, no, Chi-chan is the old man.
Obviously. Well, she's kind of helping inadvertently because she's still saying that she's a cat.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Which is helpful.
But you see it from the robot's perspective that all kinds of error screens are popping up all over the place.
Oh yeah, no, he's in full on blue screen meltdown mode.
So much so
he is
that he's like, he gets up to walk away and he just falls right over, just right on his butt.
Well, I'm not quite sure that's the problem of his logic screens, to be honest, because we look down and Chi-chan has stolen the robot's foot.
I like how she puts it though. She's like, "Oh, something weird fell off.
Look, I found this." Since we have already pre-established that Chi-chan steals stuff.
Anything shiny.
Anything shiny that's not nailed down, or in this case, is partially nailed down.
So Grandpa and Chi-chan book it because she needs to stop stealing body parts.
And Rikuo is like, let me try and fix this, but I'm not sure we can because things are having problems. But here to help is Nagi.
Finally.
Who's like, all right, let me show you how to talk to a robot like it's a person, even when it's a freaking robot. Which honestly turns out to be not as hard as one would think.
No, it's actually like real small talk. And she's like, so did you like working at the house that you were employed at? He's like, I did a lot because I was employed to take care of the son. He eventually grew up though and didn't have any need for me anymore.
He's like, oh, do you remember anything about it? And he's like, yeah, I still remember the child gave me my name.
Yep.
And that was very nice. I still have it.
I remember
and
it well.
He tries to say the name.
It's a precious name.
But he brings up a picture. He brings up that picture of himself, and it does have a name written on the picture.
Sure does.
The robot, of course, can't read it because he's a robot and can't get it quite right. But his name was Katoran, which I'm sure probably means something. It's probably some sort of pun.
But the boys, knowing what is about to come up, were like, no. We already know your name. What was the kid's name that you were taking care of? And he's like, and everything starts going terribly, terribly wrong.
It does.
He starts freaking out and hitting things. And at this point, Rikuo looks down at the side of the robot and notices that the registration plaque on the side has been all scratched out.
Somebody got rid of the stuff, the serial number.
And Rikuo was like, do you even know the family name or where the house was, like the address or any contact information? And the robot starts looking and no data.
The poor guy got wiped because he's got too much personal information in him.
And at this point, like all of his circuits start breaking down.
Yeah, because he's trying to find it. It's just throwing errors all over the place, trying to send him. He's got nothing. Poor robot.
And at this point, the two boys realize, guy's been abandoned. This sucks.
Because his head actually does start like exploding here.
And the robot's like, I'm glad that you asked what my name was. And then he starts really freaking out, and Nagi like gloms onto him.
Yeah.
And then we have some sad moments.
Yeah. He sort of recognizes Nagi in some weird way and is like, oh, are you the one who invited me here? Since you said that all customers are always treated the same here. And then he starts, again, throwing up bunches of errors. And the errors that it throws up are the picture of him with his name.
And then he says...
And then you have too many feels.
Don't forget my name.
Which is all anyone really wants, right?
Yep.
And he remembers a picture of his little boy, blacked out as it is, and then he toasts.
Well, he does hear the little boy's voice finally, and it says, this is a drawing of Katoran. Yep. So he gets to hear his name right before he turns off.
Yeah.
And there's a brief moment where he gets to see the boy's face, too.
Oh, was there?
Very brief, like one frame.
Oh.
And then it's black, because that's where robots go when they die.
Yeah. And then Rikuo explains the situation, that he was abandoned. They didn't want to pay the reclamation fee, so they just erased all personal data and
Threw him out.
tossed him out.
Yep. Which is sad.
Yeah.
But only if you think robots are human-ish.
People. Well, they kind of are. It's sad.
Well, some people don't think
'Cause-
that, Misaki.
Misaki, be cool for 5 seconds. Be cool. Because Nagi's like, all he wanted to do was be remembered by someone.
Yep.
Or have someone remember his name, or even remember his own name. That's all he wanted.
And the fact that he wanted anything is something.
Yeah.
And he's been living out actually on the run from the ethics committee, who, as we learned from the TV at the beginning, has been hunting down rogue robots and
I mean, and that's
disposing of them.
it's probably not such a bad thing for them to do again.
Right.
Not too bad. Because,
It
like,
makes
come
sense,
on.
even if it's terrible. But Misaki is like, okay, you can stop being on the robot and hugging it. It's dead. It's just a robot. And he gets really incensed and grabs Nagi and pulls her off of him.
Like, dude, guys, what's wrong with these boys and, like, not respecting people's personal space?
I don't know, but she gives him a look.
Well, yeah, because he's also like, because Misaki's also a big jerk, because he's like, what a robot thing to do. Not even remember you lost your own name. Ugh, robots, right?
Right?
Barely even, savage is barely even human. Ugh.
As Nagi turns and looks at him and gives him this really, really, really sad look, there's a quick frame of something robotish that's overlaid on her face. Yeah, I don't know what this is that's superimposed on top of Nagi, but Misaki sees it, and it freaks him out because he's like, I'm done with this. I'm out. You people and your emotional attachments to robots.
Oh, my silhouette's different than yours.
Oh, what's yours look like?
I mean, it's still a robot thing. I think it's because they must have changed
What the robot
between
was?
these two versions, changed what his carekeeping robot looked like.
Maybe.
Because I bet when we get to the last episode where they're going to reveal his backstory, we're going to have slightly different art.
Oh, probably. That'll be interesting.
Either way, he's like, it's not normal to talk to robots and emotionally sympathize with them. He's like, right, Rikuo? And he's like,
I don't know. We just watched a robot die, and it was really sad, bro.
And like, come on. Be cool for 5 seconds. Have enough of a heart to be like, at least it's like pitiable that this poor robot who's barely aware of how alive he is came in here and died trying to remember who gave him his name, okay?
Yeah.
Like, think about it for 2.5 minutes.
Nope. Misaki's a jerk. So then later, cut back to the classroom. We got a little weird setup because Rikuo is sitting in his normal seat by the window into the hallway, and Misaki, for some reason, is just sitting in the hallway.
Right behind the half wall partitions.
Rikuo is looking on his phone at the vagrant robot hotline form for the ethics committee. He's like, dude, don't you think this sucks a lot? And Misaki is like, well, I'm not the one doing it. I don't know why you're even bringing me into this. And they see Aiko walk by.
Yeah.
Now, when she walks by, though, she does have a smirk on her face.
She does, kind of.
But they think that she's still ignoring them because that is what she's programmed to do.
Yeah, and Misaki points out it's normal for them to do that. He's like, yeah, but he's got a completely different... She's like, he's got a completely different personality at the cafe. Because Sammy's that way, too, where like at home, she acts like nothing's like weird or different now. But at the cafe, like she's totally weird.
And Aiko keeps walking by, and Misaki sort of watches after her. And the unnamed girl from earlier who thought that robots were for nerds, sees him do this and is like just shocked. How could he look at a robot?
It kind of looks like he's checking out this robot.
Not really. He just sort of looks like, oh, the robot's walking by. So he took notice of robot.
And then we cut to Sammy at home, plugging up and compiling and all the things that robots do.
Whatever she does
when she's alone with herself. And she's just looking, and then her vision kind of squicks out, and it cuts to the her view of the sandwich board at the cafe.
So,
and you see not only the rule there, but also behind the rules is code. At least probably not code because there's 3s in it.
It could just be hex, but it's all the same hex. It's 1138, whatever that is.
What would that be in hex? Do you have any idea?
Not ASCII, I can tell you that. I don't know what that would be. But it's just, yeah, it's numbers over and over and over.
Oh, okay. So I think I know what this is actually in reference to.
What?
I would almost,
What is it?
honestly, this is going to be a real deep cut.
Okay.
Because I just Googling 1138 pulls up a film by
THX.
George Lucas. Yeah, a film by George Lucas done in 1971 about.
I get it.
About robots.
Yeah, THX 138, which I've not seen.
And I didn't know there was homage to that number a couple times in Star Wars too, which is kind of fun.
I mean, it makes sense.
All I know is that Nest fuel is at 87%.
Got to have that Nest fuel.
And that sweet Nest fuel. That's a good name for an energy drink, actually. I'd buy it. Nest fuel.
So next week, apparently, we're going to maybe learn more about Chi Chain and this book that's been hanging out at the cafe that everyone keeps reading called Code Life.
Code Life.
Which also shows up in the boot screen at the very start of each episode where it says, "Are you enjoying Time of Eve?" Some bio stuff, and then Code Life not loaded.
Code Life.
Like totes, man.
Tote Life.
Woke life.
Actually, these robots are kind of living #woke lives.
Yeah, actually they are.
And it's to their own existential peril. Yeah, well, these poor robots are learning the hard way.
Yep. So that is where we'll pick up next week. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you'd like to get in touch with us to leave comments or suggest future silly topics, you can contact us on Facebook or Twitter at Aniki Podcast. Or if you'd like to know more about the show and hear past episodes, check out our website at aniki.fm. See you next time on Aniki.